Build the ultimate modern zoo. Make sure the animals are happily together with aesthetically pleasing landscape in Sanctuary, an Ark Nova game.
And today we'll be teaching you how to play Sanctuary, game designed by Matthias Wigger and published by Feuerlandspiele and Capstone Games.
And hi everyone, it's Stella.
And Tarrant, welcome to Meeple University.
And hey, if you enjoyed this video after watching, like, subscribe and comments. You know what to do. Alright, now let's get to the classroom.
Sanctuary is a tile placement game in which 2 to 5 players compete to assemble the highest scoring personal zoo. Players will fight to gain the best tiles from the common market or from the draw stack, and strategically take actions to build those into their zoos, adding the best animals, the most useful projects, and the highest scoring bonus buildings, all in the aim of scoring the most points. Whoever amasses the highest scoring zoo by the time the game is over will be the winner. Sanctuary is an Ark Nova game. You'll recognise a lot of the icons as well as the core action selection mechanism from the earlier game Ark Nova. However, it is ultimately a very different and standalone game, and you won't need to know anything about Ark Nova to understand this game from this teach. To set up the common area, lay out the display board and conservation board. Shuffle all of the tiles into draw stacks face down and deal the first 6 tiles face up into the display board. Shuffle the 10 large conservation objective tiles and deal 5 of them randomly face up into these slots of the conservation board. Return the rest to the box. Make supplies of the small conservation markers, the pouch markers, and the endgame scoring markers. Give each player a player board. There are 2 different sides on the player board, but all players should use the same side as each other. Players take the conservation achievement markers and the upgrade markers in their colour, as well as a player aid and a set of 4 action cards. Each of these cards has a basic 1 side and an upgraded 2 side, and to begin the game, flip them all to their basic 1 sides. Now choose a first player. Each player in clockwise order places their project action card in the slot matching their position in turn order. And in the case that you're 5th in turn order, also place your project card in slot 4. Shuffle the rest of your action cards and randomly place them in your remaining slots. Take a tile tray. This is where you'll hold your hand of tiles during the game, but it begins empty. You're now ready to play. Sanctuary plays in turns, starting from the first player and going clockwise around the table. Your turn is broken up into up to 6 steps, which must be resolved in the following order. First, take a tile. You must draw a face-up tile from the display. Second, take an action. Choose one of your action cards and resolve the action printed on it at its current strength. Then move the action card to the far left of your board, reducing it to the weakest strength, and increasing the strengths of your other actions for your future turns. Most actions will involve adding either yellow animal tiles or purple project tiles to your zoo. Steps 3, 4 and 5 are all bonuses, and you can resolve them only if you qualify for them. These are to place a blue coloured building in your zoo from your hand if you meet the building's objective. Then to place a conservation marker on the board if you meet the required number of icons in your zoo. And then if you've achieved the objective on an upgrade tile, to discard it and upgrade one of your action cards to its more powerful side. Each turn during this step you can play at most 1 building and support 1 conservation objective, but can upgrade any number of action cards. To finish your turn, you'll do administration, during which you must discard down to 6 tiles in hand if necessary. Then slide the display and refill any empty slots from the draw decks. And finally, check to see whether the end of the game has been reached, which occurs if any player has placed all 4 conservation markers, if the draw stacks are empty, or if a player has filled their zoo. After resolving those 6 steps, play passes to the next player clockwise. So now let's look at each step in detail, starting with taking a tile. You must always start your turn by taking a face-up tile from the display, never from the draw stacks, into your hand. There are 6 tiles on the display board, but you don't have access to all of them. Instead, check the number on the current position of your project's action card. It does not matter which action card you intend to use in step 2 of your turn. For the purposes of drawing a tile from the display, it is always the project card you check. The number indicated by the arrow is your maximum tile range. Here it's 2, so in my take a tile step, I must take either tile 1 or tile 2. Leave open any empty space in the display. You won't refill that until your administration step. The second step is to take your action. Choose one of your 4 action cards and offset it slightly before taking one of the 2 actions on that card at the action's strength, which is being pointed at by the arrow on the card. Here I'd be taking the water action at strength 4. I'll now take you through all of the different actions, and the first action is to play one animal. You'll find this on the water, forest, and rock cards on their level 1 sides. To play one animal, take a valid animal tile from your hand. It must be an animal tile having this yellow band at the bottom. It must have one of the matching habitat icons in its top left corner, so in this case, water or undefined. And the strength of the animal, showing here on the left, must be equal to or lower than the strength of the action you're taking. Place the tile into a valid empty space in your zoo. For your first placement, this must be one of these 3 spaces adjacent to the gate, while for a future placement it must either be, again, adjacent to the gate, or adjacent to any one of your previously placed tiles. If the animal you place has an immediate effect shown by this lightning bolt, resolve that now. In this case, it's to move one of your action cards to the number 1 slot. If your placement creates a breeding pair, by which 2 animals of the same name are placed adjacent, then you also collect a conservation marker. Many larger animals, particularly higher strength ones, may also require more than just a single hex to roam around in your zoo, and this is indicated by these arrows and green borders. Whenever an animal has one of these, when you place it, each of the arrowed edges must be pointing towards an open area, which looks like this. This can include the pre-printed open areas on your map, but if not, when placing the larger animal, you will have to choose another tile from your hand, flip it over to its open space side, and place it into your zoo to meet the requirements. Multiple animals may take advantage of the same open space. Once you've placed a tile as an open area, it counts as a tile for the purposes of adjacency when placing future tiles. But the same is not true for the pre-printed open areas. I would not now be allowed to place an animal here. Finally, after placing any tile, if you cover up an icon on the board, you immediately gain that bonus. This, for example, is drawing a tile from the face-down stacks to your hand. The second action is to play up to 2 animals, and you'll find this on the upgraded level 2 side of the action cards. When you choose such an action, your option is to play either 1 or 2 animals, again as limited by the habitat type, and such that the sum of the played animals' strengths is equal to or less than the action strength. Play the first animal, resolving all of its triggered effects before playing the second. The next action is play a project. This is always play one project, whether it's on the basic or advanced side of the action card. This lets you play one project tile from your hand to your zoo, and project tiles have this icon in the top right and the purple band down the bottom. The tile that you play must be of equal or lesser strength than the strength of the action. Place the tile following all of the normal rules and restrictions. Most projects have an ongoing effect, represented by the infinity, and this could make future actions cheaper or more powerful. Some projects will also have immediate effects, or a mix of both. I'll go through some of these specific effects a little bit later in the video, but for now we'll go to the final action. The final actions let you gain more tiles, and you'll do this instead of playing a tile when you resolve an action card. On the 3 animal cards, the alternative action is to draw 2 tiles from the face-down piles to your hand. You simply take them off the top of the deck, sight unseen. On the other hand, with the project card, you take a tile from the display, either 1 tile at level 1 or 2 tiles at level 2. When an action, or indeed any other game effect, tells you to take a tile from the display, you always have the entire range available. You are not limited to the tile range stated on the current position of your project card. This tile range restriction applies only to the tile you take in step 1 of your turn. Whatever action you took after you finished resolving it and all of its triggered effects, move that action card to the number 1 slot on your board, sliding all other tiles to fill the gaps. The next step is to resolve any of the 3 conditional bonuses that you qualify for, which are buildings, conservation objectives, and action card upgrades. To do this, we need to understand a little bit more about icons on tiles. The majority of animal tiles have 3 icons at the top. There is the habitat icon, which we've already seen, and that tells you which action card you need to use to play the tile. Beside that, there'll be the continent icon, which could be Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, or Americas, and the animal's type. And the standard types are reptile, primate, bird, herbivore, and predator. There's also a 6th animal type, which is the petting zoo animal. These have the undefined habitat, and they do not have a continent. Project tiles will have the project icon and then some mix of habitat, continent, and animal icons. And that's likewise the case for the building tiles, which we're about to learn about. Most of the conditional bonuses we're about to go through involve having certain combinations of those icons in your zoo, or having them arranged in a specific configuration. The first conditional bonus is to play 1 building. In this step, you may play up to 1 of the blue building tiles from your hand to your board, and each building has a minimum objective or requirement to place it. Most require adjacency to 1 or more icons. So the primate house must simply go in an empty space adjacent to at least 1 primate icon. The library must go adjacent to at least 2 projects. Some don't require adjacency. This, for example, is to have 5 of the 6 different animal icons anywhere in your zoo, and if you do, you can place this building anywhere. And some are placed by the river, which means in one of these 6 spaces adjacent to the rivers on the sides of your board. Normal adjacency placement rules apply, so right now I could not place a by the river building because I don't have an adjacent tile to place it next to. Had I then placed this here, I could now legally place this by the river building in one of these 2 spaces, resolving covered icons as usual. Most buildings provide some sort of end-game placement scoring objective, although there are some with immediate or ongoing effects. Next, you may use these player-coloured markers to support up to 1 conservation objective per turn. You have 4 of these markers, times 2, times 3, times 4, and times 5. And there are 5 conservation objectives in the game. Each of these will be one of the standard animal or continent icons. Choose an objective and count up the number of that icon in your zoo. For example, here I have 4 primates. Take your marker of an equal or lesser number, flip it to its scoring side and place it on your slot of the board. You can't claim the same objective twice or increase your multiplier on it, even if you later gain more of the matching icon, and so picking the right time to claim each objective is a key part of the game. You may also spend and discard a conservation marker you've collected as a wild icon. Here, for example, my zoo has 2 Americas icons, but I could also discard this marker to act as a third and score the times 3 multiplier. You can spend multiple markers on one claim, but cannot replace the entire cost with these markers. Finally, the first time you meet each of these upgrade objectives, in step 5 you can upgrade an action card. Unlike the others, you can do this multiple times per turn. The objectives are: the first time you support a conservation objective, once you've placed 2 projects into your zoo, once you've placed tiles of 3 matching habitats into an adjacent cluster in your zoo, and once you have at least 4 different animal icons. When you meet an objective, flip the token down and flip any one action card to its upgraded side. The final step of your turn is administration. You can hold any number of tiles during your turn, but in this step you must discard down to 6 if you have more. Keep discards face up separate to the draw stacks. Then refill the display. Slide down all the display tiles as low as they will go and refill from the top of the deck. Check for the endgame trigger, I'll talk about that a little bit later, and play passes to the next player. I'll take you through a few more rules and clarifications on how some tile effects work. Generally speaking, when you place a tile that has an ongoing effect, this will trigger each time a certain icon is played, and that will include itself. For this tile, I would get to resolve this effect of drawing 3 tiles from the pile and keeping an animal. The exception is an ongoing effect, which reduces the cost to play a certain icon. I would play this Asia tile for its full cost of 3 strength, but then for all future Asia tiles, the strength cost would be discounted by 2. Some projects allow you to release a certain type of animal. Here it would be releasing a European animal, so it would be one of these 2 animals I'd release. Place the project on top of the animal that you're releasing, covering up all of its icons and points. You now treat the tile below as if it's no longer there. As a reward, you'll gain conservation markers based on the strength of the animal which you covered. The project must cover up an animal, you cannot use it to release a building or another project. Some effects let you relocate tiles in your zoo. When you do this, pick up the tile you're relocating and then choose a new location for it, following all normal placement rules for that animal. For example, here I would still have to place adjacent to some existing tile. If I chose to move an animal which required adjacent open spaces, it must have those open spaces available in its new location. You can't place more at this moment. And if you relocate a building with a placement requirement, here for example being next to Europe, I would have to find a valid location to place it, which in this case I do not have. However, it's only the tile that you're moving which needs to meet placement restrictions. I could, if I wanted to, move this open space away from my spider monkey, or move one of the adjacent Europe icons away from the Europe building. I could even use it to separate a part of my map from another. Finally, some tiles let you gain pouches, in which case simply collect the pouch tokens. These serve no function other than endgame scoring. At the end of your turn, check whether one of these 3 endgame conditions is met. These are if you've placed your 4th conservation achievement, if there are no tiles remaining in the draw deck, or if you've just filled every empty space in your zoo. The player who triggers the end by one of their 2 personal objectives, so the conservation objectives or filling their zoo, takes this token, which is worth 10 points. Each other player takes 1 more turn, and anyone who meets one of those personal endgame triggers on that turn gains one of these 5-point markers. Now count up your final scores. Almost every tile in your zoo will score some points, and the scoring objective is shown in its bottom right corner. Some tiles, including all open space tiles, give you simply a raw number of points. Some will score points for all of a given icon in your zoo, regardless of placement. Here it's 1 point per predator, and so count up all predators, including itself, and here I'd gain 4 points. Some will score points for adjacent icons, excluding itself. So here it's 2 points for each adjacent primate, so here a total of 4 points. Then anything showing this icon will grant points for all of a given icon within a connected adjacent cluster, including that tile. Here, 2 points per primate in this adjacent cluster, a total of 10 points. Petting zoo animals collectively score a number of points based on how many of them are in an adjacent cluster. Here I have a cluster of 2 petting zoo animals, so collectively they would score 9 points. And look out for some interesting combos, such as scoring points based on your leftover tiles in hand, or for adjacent different animals and continents. Score the points on each conservation achievement you've managed to put on the board. Score the points on your endgame scoring marker, if any, and score 2 points per leftover conservation and pouch marker. The player with the highest score wins. If tied, most uncovered animal tiles in your zoo breaks the tie, and if still tied, victory is shared.
Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, maybe you'd like to watch this next one. Have a great day. Bye!